They're ducking and saying. So if you're not here, you are missing out. So just jump in with us. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Amelia and Randy, the all new and improved Amelia and Randy show, where they're going to be talking about current events. They're going to be talking about what's happening. We're going to be talking about the fact that Randall Kenneth Jones has celebrated 30 years on each leg, or 20, depending how you're looking at it. Happy birthday, Randy. He turned 60 years old last week. And so we're going to be, actually this week, this Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. So happy birthday, Randy. We're going to be talking about that. So he's got a big 6-0 balloons wrapped around his neck. So I would encourage everybody to jump in and check us out on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. And of course, we invite you to push that little button down at the bottom with the arrow. Share this room if you're on Clubhouse with the audience, as Randy is looking through his head is in the 0 and he's looking through the hole in the 6. So join us on video as well. Of course, ping people in, invite people into this space, because every week when we're here from 9 to 10. And again, here's the 10 to 12 o'clock hour. Join us for another great episode. Well, thank you for joining us, I should say, and bring some people into this conversation, because that is how we can change the world. So with that said, Amelia, come on in. And your volume's a little low, Amelia. So if you could maybe get a little closer to your mic or whatever you got going on there. So good morning. Still a little low.
Really low? Okay. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm going to do something.
I don't know. But you are a little lower than you were this morning, which is interesting.
I know. Same thing, right? I have no idea what I did. Happy birthday, Mr. Randy.
A little better now.
I think you know where the 6 people, I didn't say anything, did I? You didn't know that I got them. So I got a lovely gift from my friend Amelia, complete with these monster balloons, a 6 and a 0. Now, there is an argument that can be made that I am, this way 0, 6,
or
6. How do I make it work?
Of course, if you turn the balloon upside down, you can be 90. Ouch.
Can't be 90. So I got these. They called me, and I was at my client, and they were trying to make this delivery, and my neighbor got them, and she called me. She goes, "They're really huge balloons that are 60." And I went, "Oh, I guess that's not subtle." So we are all aware of how old. My whole neighborhood is aware of how old I turned this birthday. So
dirt, right?
Listen, I am so excited. The best is right here, right now. This decade is going to rock, 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 rock. So, do you want to talk about what you're excited about?
What I'm obsessed with. Okay, so this makes sense. Okay, so we start out with the obsession, and this obsession makes sense because I turned 60. I am obsessed right now. I had a conversation this week. Well, I launched my podcast this week, Jones Show, with Melissa Rivers, which is phenomenal.
Heart.
Yeah.
I
Melissa
love her. I love her.
Her new book is great. She's hysterical. She's so funny in her own right. She deserves credit for being that. But I actually had a conversation on my birthday. My birthday present to me was I talked to Stephanie Powers. Hour and a half. I talked to Stephanie Powers for an hour. See, I'm kissing Stephanie. I'm. You all can't see it if you're not watching the stream. You don't see me kissing on Stephanie Powers' face.
Can I kiss? I want to kiss on her face. She's so brilliant.
Oh, I mean, oh my God. She asked me at the end, did I meet your expectations? And I was a little, I didn't answer well, because I said, I knew you would be smart. Because Jennifer Hart, I mean, she's best known for Heart to Heart. She's done so much more. The World and Wildlife organization that she runs for wildlife preservation. She lives part of her life in Kenya. She lives part of her life in London, part of her life in LA. I mean, she's 2 months away from 80, and she gave me a smackdown over 60 is nothing.
That's right.
She was really big on Randy. This number is nothing. I don't, but I told her, I said, I knew you'd be smart, but I didn't know you'd be this smart. And then Kevin Getz, our friend Kevin Getz, who introduced me to her, Kevin then told me, did
Kevin
you know?
Kevin is one of my other little pat on my heart.
Yeah. Kevin says she speaks 5 languages. You know what, Amelia? I think I would have been scared. Had I known how smart she
really is.
Scared.
Yeah. I love it.
So what that's got me thinking about, though, I mean, Heart to Heart in the 70s, my husband's obsessed with actress Tallulah Bankhead. Oh, actually, Heart to Heart was 80s. Tallulah Bankhead, who she did one of her first major films with in the 60s. And it's interesting to me is when you reach a milestone, you think about the past. My husband, Derek, is convinced I live in the past. I am absolutely convinced it's the reverse. I live in the now, and I look ahead. I maybe don't even look ahead as much as I live in the now. I don't think I live in the past at all.
So he's very astute. Like he's an observer of life. So when he says that to you, especially since you guys have been partners for a long time, you guys are not newlyweds, right? You're long time. Why do you think he says you live in the past? What evidence would he say?
I have been known to throw some things in his face. So
No. Really?
I have been known to say, remember back in 1998 when you fill in the blank. So I'm going to own that. I really don't do that anymore. I have done that before. That's where that comes from. But from my perspective, I mean, my kids are 31. My daughter turns 32 on Monday. My son is 33. I don't even really look at old pictures or videos or anything. I never look at anything in the past because it's gone.
Yeah.
And I don't even now. And the other thing is, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this. Even look at pictures of my kids as babies. That's so gone that that's hard to do because that's 30 years ago gone. And I'm just so much more about being in the moment, which is what I teach, which is what you teach, which we talk about, and looking ahead. So what I really wanted to talk to you about for everyone, living in the past, friend or foe?
Well, let's see in the back chat, right? I would love to hear, is there anybody who's listening who believes that part of their behavior is that they are rooted in the past, which means you're using the past as your reference point as you are in the present or moving forward to the future. What's interesting about the past, right, something that has already happened, is that you only have your perception of what happened, right? That's the interesting thing about events that have already transpired, is that you only have that one view of the movie. Now you can, right? I mean, that's what a lot of, therapy and a lot of regression training is about, is to be able to decode what else could have been happening while you're looking backwards. But there's a lot of knowledge behind us. But what you referred to is using the past as a weapon.
And I have done that.
Right? Using the past as a weapon to say, do you remember when? Right? That's weaponizing.
Yeah.
And that's, there's a whole chapter in Designing Genius that talks about fault finding, right? And again, we're taught fault finding, right? We don't come here in our original form as fault finders. We are taught fault finding. And in fault finding, right, to find fault in everything, right, is to produce evidence to believe that I am right, and that's why I'm finding fault. But it's also how we use weaponizing, using the past as evidence of the point that I'm making, versus, right, because I'm always trying to give the behavior modification, how you think and how you feel requires no evidence. I don't have to say, well, Derek, back in 1980, right, which is the justification of what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling. You have the right to think and feel however you think and you feel at this moment without any evidence. We're taught as a society to bring our documentation with us to prove that I'm paying, to prove that how I feel is justified, to prove, and that is a very slippery slope versus being present and accepting for exactly what is your reality where you are right now, which is that love and that compassion of acceptance. Which is the work that we talk about being a witness. How can I be a witness instead of being a gatekeeper? I find that fascinating.
Interestingly enough, my BFF just chimed in on LinkedIn. That's my beloved Tammy, my BFF Tammy Roberts.
Oh, hey, Tammy.
Hello, Tammy. But I mean, she said something which truly relates to what I was going to mention. She said, I don't live in the past, but I learn from the past about myself. Try to improve and not regret. Absolutely. I don't think I can do what I do and you can do what you do if we don't use the reference the past. If I don't reference the past for one thing, I reteach largely what other people tell me. You reteach what you teach what you know. I teach what I
is,
do, which is a very
absolutely
different
a
thing.
reference point, right?
Yeah.
But you can't use the past as a weapon. Most importantly, for self. Like, again, a lot of people get into beating themselves up about I woulda, I shoulda, I coulda, right? They're using the past as a weapon against themselves, and that causes shame, right? And so whether you're using the weapon against yourself or other people, either way, that is leading you onto a course that you actually don't want to be on. You don't want to be on that joint journey of shamefulness, right? And it's very hard, right, to break that habit and that belief system unless you stop, start, and swap, right? You have to stop one thing and start something else so that there isn't a hole in your behavior. But I love that. And I think, Brenda, you are such a self-aware individual, right? You can see something, you learn something, and you auto-correct so quickly as an individual.
I tried to, okay, Tammy, if you're there, do I live in the past? That's what we're talking about. Do you think I live in the past? We'll see what Tammy, if she were on right now, man, she would be all about this conversation because she's known me for like 30 years. So,
which is so great. Which is
I do correct it. I made a conscious decision in my late 40s that I wanted my life to have more purpose. I started interviewing people that were the column in the newspaper, which became the first book, which became the podcast, which is now becoming the second book. But to actually reference the past thoughtfully in a way that positively influences the now is hard.
Yeah, it's extremely hard, right? Because the past is our side of it. It's our truth. It doesn't mean that's everybody's truth. It's our truth. And so I reference the past. Again, on the 9 o'clock second, I was trying to make references on how I came to the conclusions that I was sharing and how I learned a relationship between masculine and feminine energy, right? Doesn't mean my way is right, but I was giving context on how I learned what it is that I was learning and being completely open to new information because it's the new information that allows me to grow and to pivot, right? I'm not committed to being right. I'm committed to learning. I'm committed to the curiosity and I'm committed to the journey and the journey forward. But using the past as a reference point allows you to be able to measure the growth, right? My philosophy is I'm looking to be better today than I was yesterday. That's it. Better than I was yesterday. And that's kind of the course where I'm going. And I love everything that your 60th birthday represents because it's just not another new year, it's a new decade.
Well, it's a new me. I mean, okay, first we have to go. Did you see Tammy's answer?
Oh, no.
I don't think so, but do I live in best? I don't think I seem to remember all transgressions.
Okay, all right. Okay, accountability there, Mr. Randy.
Yeah. Tammy just took a shot at me, and Tammy took an accurate shot at me. And let's talk about that. When you remember those things, and I do, because I have a long memory for bad behavior.
Yes.
That's hard on me.
Oh, it's hard. Because it puts you in a box.
It's very, and I'm aware. Sometimes being self-aware is painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
The journey of true learning is always painful.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're actually learning, and growing, it's painful.
I try to be forgiving. Well, okay. So now let's ask about this. What's your spin on forgive and forget? That you should forgive and forget. What's your spin on?
Well,
the old idea that just forgive and forget. I don't know whether I do either one all that well.
I think so forgiveness is about you, not the other person.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So I actually realize that the forgiveness is so that I don't carry excess baggage. It's a me thing. Forgiveness, right? And again, I was just talking about this big conversation that I had yesterday with my ex, We sat down and rehashed, a beautiful relationship that we had together that we decided a year ago to kind of go our own ways. And so it was a wonderful time to sit and reflect on us as an individual as we are energetically part, right? So to celebrate both of these new pathways that we're on. And I think it's not about forgiving and forgetting. The forgiveness is for you, and the forgetting really is, for me, it's always about new healthy boundaries. That when I know better, I try to do better. So it's not about me forgetting. It's about me being able to say, what boundaries do I need in place in order for Amelia to be the highest and best version of myself? So I know my Amelia today versus Amelia a year ago versus Amelia 6 years ago when I was starting the relationship. I was a very different person then. Not good or bad. There's no judgment at all. But the boundaries that I had during that space and time no longer work for me. And so now there's new boundaries. And so it's interesting when you have people in your life for long periods of time, I had to set the foundation to introduce some new boundaries, right? And to also be able to amplify, right? To give a gift to the other party to say, hey, listen, now that I've had this new growth of where I was and where I am now, I'd like to acknowledge some things that happened during our relationship that I want to let you know your instincts were 100% correct. You are absolutely correct. And I want to give you that gift to say, these points that you have made are true. They are true. I value them. I acknowledge them. I celebrate them. And wish it well as you move on to wherever you're moving and vice versa. So there's a lot of healthy closure into validating both sides of the story. And I think that as you transition relationships, because that's my belief system, I don't believe that a relationship needs to end. I think a relationship needs to transition, right? And so transitioning a relationship so that there is space for a new partner. I just did a post on Instagram about this. Saying that if you don't create space for the things that you want, they will never happen. They absolutely will never happen. You don't have space for intimacy, it's never going to happen because somebody's already in that seat, right? So you have to create space. So the delusion about us remaining best friends is unacceptable, right? That seat, right, is being reserved for somebody else. Therefore, you need to remove your energy because that is no longer welcome, and I'm creating space for that. That doesn't mean I'm not friendly. That doesn't mean I'm not supportive. That doesn't mean that I don't wish it well, but I'm intentionally setting space for a new relationship that will include that intimacy in it. And so you cannot welcome it in if somebody's already in that seat. So part of my process in transitioning relationships is to make sure that the other person knows my intention. My intention is to create space. My intention means these things are going to be different. My intention is X, Y, and Z. And that clarity allows for the amplification of myself and for everything that I'm working on in my 5 areas of focus. So I love the transitions. And I think that you and Derek have done that really well as you've been together for so long, as you've transitioned to different aspects of your relationships. When your kids were little, you guys were a little bit more in the parenting role than you are now. And I think that learning the skills to transition a relationship with intention. I'm transitioning from intimacy to a colleague, or transitioning from intimacy to a supportive, relationship, but not a BFF, or whatever that is that works for you. How are you going to transition the energy?
Okay, so we're going to go to Tammy. Too bad Tammy's not on screen. And then we're going to go back to you because I'm
excited to talk to Tammy. Are you kidding?
We're having a real discussion here. Tammy said, and this, what Tammy said, I think is true, but it's going to relate to my next point. You are so good to others that their bad behavior is more hurtful. Yes, I believe that when I really give of myself, and I do get more hurts when their behavior is bad. So let's look at your situation.
By the way, Randy, if I can just get in and say, send me her email, and I'll send her the invite, and we can bring her on screen.
Oh, Tammy? Tammy, text me which email.
I love the Power of Regret. Oh, that's such a great book.
Yeah, I think
I think Lori is the one who put it in the back chat. It is a wonderful, wonderful book, The Power of Regret, How Looking Backwards Can Move Us Forward. That's a beautiful, beautiful book. Thank you for the recommendation in the back chat. I mean, again, this is what makes the thing so great, is to be able to have and share information and knowledge nuggets. And I'm always here to try to give a behavior modification tool if I can. That's a good one. Love, 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 love. What else is going on here in the back chat? I have been searching for.
Okay, but let me go to my point. Tammy says she's not camera ready, so thank you.
Okay, that's okay.
Not camera ready. So, okay, I can be a grudge holder, but part of that grudge is, and Amelia, you know this, I get really angry when people don't treat you right, and you know that's true because you've heard me many times. We've discussed this. I'll go off.
Yes.
That person's taking advantage of you, and it gets me going. So you are, I think this is an interesting spin on this because you're in this relationship. You have this, you're reshaping a relationship with an ex. I ain't reshaped my relationship with him.
You know, this is why I love you, and I also love Patricia in my life, right? Because you guys help me enforce my boundaries, right? I have a tendency to love too much. I love too deeply. I love
thing, which is what's crazy. I do the same thing.
Yes, but you can help me with my boundaries, just like I can help you with your boundaries.
You
right?
do slap me around. You do.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do your own brain surgery, and that's why your circle of trust is so important, right? To be able to help identify. That's why the should and should not in designing genius is so important, right? Because I share with the group what my should and should nots are, and then when I'm leaning into old patterns, you guys all go, didn't you say, Amelia, right? X, Y, and Z, and then I can take the wisdom of the things and the intentions that I created for myself and reinforce them. But I can absolutely slip back into my own patterns. And again, you guys, you and Tony and Patricia and my circle is the ones that go, yeah, but we haven't forgiven him.
And I haven't. And I don't very easily forgive when you're always, we talked about it before, you talked about your boundaries and how, digital currency and having the right to ask and all this kind of stuff. Still, I'm the one, we were sort of making fun of me for the fact that I say yes too much. I still think you say yes too much.
Well, if I can just jump in and say that, to what Amelia said before, that forgiveness is for you, it's not for them. It doesn't make whatever was done okay. It just releases you from the prison that you put yourself in. Oftentimes, we're holding on to that anger and hate for something that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Perhaps that person is no longer in our life. Perhaps that person is long gone and dead, and you're still victimize yourself over what happened in the past. So you're not letting that go in your own mind. And so you're re-victimizing yourself. You're the one responsible for what's happening now. And by forgiving that person and forgiving yourself, you release that, you let that go, and you make room for something or someone else in your life, which is what Amelia was talking about, creating space for that other person, both for her and for her ex. And by the way, it's not forgive and forget. It's forgive and file away. You should never forget what happened because, there's that old saying, I'm probably going to screw it up, is if you forget the lessons of the past, you're doomed to repeat the mistake. You're doomed to repeat the bad things of the past. So it's not about forgetting. It's about forgiving, moving on, and having that wisdom. Because if you can forget what happened, it might feel good in the moment, but all that's going to happen is you're going to fall for that same trap. You're going to make that same mistake and then hate yourself all over again. So don't forget, but by all means, forgive.
Well, here's what was so beautiful, because I really love, transferring relationships, transferring from what is to something else. And in transferring the relationship during yesterday's conversation, what was beautiful about it was that I got an opportunity, talking about forgiveness, to take a look at what I could have done differently as an individual, not for anybody else other than me. What other choices did I have? What could I have done differently to be able to come to a different outcome and to be able to walk through that exercise from his point of view as well, what he could have done differently. When you engage in those kinds of conversations and open and honest dialogue, right, that is from compassion, to say, I hear what you're saying, and I acknowledge what you're saying you could have done differently, and here's how that would have felt. And for him to say, here's what I could have done differently and how I then felt, because it creates a space of healing. Because the ultimate goal for me, the reason why I wanted to have that closure was to be able to detach from the energy by closing any open-ended misalignment, right? To be able to really close the energy loop to say, I am so excited for you and your future. And there is nothing unspoken, unsaid, right, on my side other than wishing you well, right? And vice versa. Now, many times in relationships, they don't have the opportunity to transfer the relationship like I just described. However, as a behaviorist, what I can tell you is you can always transfer the relationship, whether the other person is an active participant or not. The exercise to release from energy that is no longer serving you can be done in person, right? Or it can be done even if the person's not there. I had to do a lot of this with my mother, who my mother committed suicide when I was very, very young. And as I went through a lot of my healing work, I had to be able to go through these types of exercises to release from the energy that was holding me into a part of Amelia that I did not like about myself. So in order for me to grow into the highest, best version of myself, I had to let go of some of the complexities and hurt and pain that was in a relationship between my mother and I. And I did that even though my mother's not here. The exercise is still the same practice.
And by the way, there is an exercise that you can look into, and I encourage everybody to look into. There's an ancient Hawaiian spiritual prayer. It's not a prayer as much as it is a ritual of forgiveness. It's called the Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all that, but I've even on Clubhouse, I've led like a closed eye 5-10 minute session with people to take them through that forgiveness process. And Randy, I'm happy to take you through that offline. To help, because it helps you heal and move past traumas, forgiving the people that hurt you, forgiving the people that hurt them, because remember, hurt people hurt people. So if somebody hurt you, what perhaps caused them to be hurt? And you can forgive people generationally back. And I know this sounds like a lot of hoo-ha and whatever, but trust me, this stuff is for real. So if anybody's interested in looking it up, just type in one of my favorite ones, because that's who I learned it from, my mentor. Type in Tony Robbins into Ho'oponopono. Sounds complicated, but it's just like it sounds. Ho'oponopono, whatever. But it sounds just like it sounds. It's spelled just like it sounds. The Ho'oponopono. Change your life.
I love it. Which brings me to this week's obsession. Just happens to slide so nicely into this. So people who know me, I love Netflix. I'm watching a new Netflix documentary, which is called Heal. And it is both about mental health and spiritual health. It takes you on a beautiful documentary. It is so good on Netflix. And it really, again, somebody in the back chat was saying it's not about the answers, it's about the questions. And 100% Heal on Netflix is brilliant, by opening up some of the questions into spirituality, mental health, healing, all of this wonderful process. So that's something that I've been diving crazy. Oh, yep, flavors of men. Listen, Randy, yep. Mm-hmm.
Part of the healing is understanding all the different flavors of men now available to you.
All of the
and women.
And yeah, that could be a bumper sticker. I'll take that, right?
You just said it. You all heard it. It could be a bumper sticker. We're gonna have birds.
And then here's the other thing. I'm doing this as well. I'm obsessed with these two. Look at this. Gary Vee has me locked in yet again. That man, every time he does another book, right, I'm always like, whatever. So this is yummy. And then I'm rereading Living on Purpose and loving it. I read it a long time ago. I'm back knee deep into it, Living on Purpose. And boy, am I getting all these little light bulbs, inspirations as we build Designing Cheat Genius going forward. Love both of these books. Obsessed.
Amelia, give the title of Gary Vee's new book, because you showed us, but on Clubhouse they can't see it.
I'm sorry. So it's called 12 and a Half, Leveraging the Emotional Ingredients Necessary for Business Success. And I
Boom.
think, I mean, I don't know, everybody must know who Gary is. If you don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, you must be living off the rock. He's got a ton of number one bestsellers. This one, 12 and a half, talking about the emotional ingredients, because Designing Genius is so committed to creating a healthier people operating systems inside the infrastructure of businesses and our relationships. I went back into this book. It's a quick read. And it's very Gary, right? So it's direct, it's quick, 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 quick. And I absolutely love everything about it. And I'm reading it alongside Winning on Purpose, right? So if I'm talking about people and really creating this amazing amplification system for them, at the same time talking about building people to the highest, I'm reading both at the same time, and I am just loving. And then I just dove into, in between my reading space, watching this documentary about Heal. And so you can absolutely see the theme that's going on in my world as we are in creation mode.
Amelia, this is Pastor Jeff.
Hi, Pastor Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I just wanted to give a share and then ask you a question. And so, my perspective, especially from the work that I do in ministry, I would say that forgiveness would not be forgiveness if we could forget the experience, the hurt, and the pain. It would simply just be we forgot. And so, with that, my question is, what do you think about the work of Dr. Chapman with the five languages of apology, where he express, I apologize, accepting responsibility. I was wrong, make substitution. What can I do to make it right? Genuinely repenting. I will do my best not to ever do that again. And requesting forgiveness just simply, will you please forgive me? And the concept of learning a person's language of apology and then practicing perhaps apologizing in all five languages. This is Pastor Jeff, and I'll listen for your response.
Oh, Pastor Jeff, that is such a yummy, yummy conversation, right? Because I think as a society, we were never disciplined in the art and the act of an apology. People think they just say, I'm sorry, and they just kind of skip on through it as if that is an apology, and it is not, right? A proper apology has a sequencing or a recipe to it, with that starts with the fact of first the acknowledgement, right? The acknowledgement to really just accept that the person is saying that they're hurt. It doesn't mean that they have to prove that they're hurt, right? Just saying that they're hurt, and then understanding what is needed in order to put the effort in for the apology so that you land the message that you intended, right? The art of communication is to land the message you intend, especially when you're trying to value a relationship and you have created pain, even though it's unintentional pain. And so this art form that you're talking about is understanding what that individual needs for an apology is beautiful work. And it's such a great communication starter for relationships that have meaning to you, is to sit down with that book and talk about it. Use that as a communication starter to say, when you're in pain, which of these things feel good to you? Why do they feel good to you? What are the evidence that you're looking for so that you can be more intentional with the relationships that you're building? So that is, Pastor Jeff, I love that. That was such a great refresher. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that? Because again, a lot of this work is just being able to open up the dialogue, right, with the people in your life, because it's the effort more than the outcome. It's demonstrating the effort that you have meaning to me, and I want to have this conversation so that I can learn more about you, so that I can deliver the intention, right? So much of the myth in relationships isn't because anybody really wants to create pain. It's because of the practice of not having the alignment to go, I don't understand, this is how I feel, playing, whatever. So that's a wonderful, wonderful book, Pastor Jeff. And I know you've done so many good work in healing through your ministries, right? When our heart is in pain, you're a wonderful place to go to be able to soothe our soul on what's actually needing the nutrients.
Thank you. That was absolutely brilliant. And that's my sentiment as well. So, as a politician would say, I approve that message.
I love you, Pastor Jeff. I'm so glad that you're actually here. And I really applaud the work that you do, because we've got a lot of people right now that are really just lost and they just need a little TLC. That's why I try to say as often as I can, you are wanted and you are welcome here. Agree, disagree, angry, not angry. It doesn't, you are welcome here as you are. No improvement needed. You are welcome here, both in our 9 o'clock and our 11 o'clock hour. This is a discussion so we grow together. Nobody here has all the answers. We all have our lanes, but we're here to grow together, and you are welcome. So exciting. So exciting.
And Tony's lane is to do a room reset.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I tried really hard, Tony. We were right there at 11:30, and I thought we're going to do it right on time. And
I didn't want to cut in again, but yes, it is that time, bottom of the hour, a few minutes past anyway. So thank you again for being here. If you're just joining us, this is the new and improved Amelia and Randy show. And we are here, of course, from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock every Friday, discussing, well, whatever comes to mind, the topics at hand, life events, current events, whatever it is. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you're on Clubhouse, we encourage you to hit that little button on the bottom with that the share button, which is that little square with the arrow on it. You can, of course, also ping people in individually. And, of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, please do share this video and share the content. Invite people in to watch the replay or just to listen to the replay, because there's so much being shared here. And today we're talking about forgiveness. We're talking about impact. We're talking about healing, and we're talking about moving on, and we're talking about so many amazing things. So thank you, Amelia. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Pastor Jeff, and everybody else that's here contributing, listening. And of course, thank you to Tammy, who wasn't camera ready, but she, of course, was part of the conversation this morning. And we welcome you to jump in, ask a question in chat. Message us, even if you're watching on social media, especially if you're watching on social media. Share with us what it is that you want to discuss, talk about at this juncture or for future events. So thank you again for being here. Amelia, back to you.
Well, I think that this whole concept of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? This replaceable, disposable society, this replaceable, disposable relationship is what's causing so much harm, right? We invest in the relationships around us. And when they need to transition, you want to be able to hold on to the value of what you built and release for the things that are no longer serving you. And so I'm very fortunate, for people who have followed me for a long time, the father of my children and I had a relationship for 26 years. Now, more than 10 of those years, we were no longer intimate partners. And we did a lot of work to transition into being incredible co-parents. And I always say that that's one of my proudest accomplishments, was the fact that the relationship from an intimate standpoint ended, but all the value that we built into our children, into our friendship, as colleagues, as cheerleaders in each other's lives, is what we were able to keep. So as he moved on to his new fiance and their beautiful 10-year relationship, I was a champion for that, right? But it doesn't just happen, right? It took work. It took work for us to transfer our relationship into something different. And, I'm happy, my soul is happy that I'm able to do that once again in my last relationship, where we both outgrew the relationship for very different reasons and on 2 different courses. But my heart is full. My heart is genuinely full to say I am so excited about both of our journeys, because I have the clarity now. Now, it took me a year, right? The clarity of what I was participating in and where that was for the best of Amelia and where it may have taken me off course. But what took me off course is my work, right? I was able to identify my work, which means if you know, you're 50% of the way there. It's when you don't know that you then are guessing. And so each of these relationships are, at a specific point in time. If you take a look at some of the philosophies around energy and why people come into your life, a lot of times they come into your life in order to help you develop a skill that you may not have. We're always in preparation, right, for the best version of ourselves. And so I love this, and I'm hoping that part of the work we can put out there is for young people not to think it's just over and disposable. And I hear that when I work with young people, when somebody makes a mistake or they feel like they let somebody down and they're in their shame, the story, right, the shadow talk is saying, well, it's over. I made a mistake, it's over. And I'm like, we have to move away from this emphatic, it's over if you are so flawed. We are flawed. We're flawed as individuals. We're flawed as humans. And we're all on this journey of self-discovery, which means we have to give each other grace as we're learning. And like Pastor Jeff was saying, to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm now in awareness. Apologize, right, for something that I've done, and to be able to accept responsibility and share with somebody what I intend to do differently so that I don't hurt your feelings yet again, right? I don't want to repeat the behavior. I want to be able to do something differently. And so I love everything about this conversation. I'm also watching in the back chat. So
Amelia, can I jump in real quick? Because
please.
I think it's so helpful to me. I'm ridiculously fond of my ex-wife. She was my high school sweetheart. We have 2 children together. I, too, am so proud of the relationship that we have decades later. I mean, we've been apart for decades now. I'm so proud of that relationship. I'm also so proud of the relationship she has with my family and I have with hers.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, my former mother-in-law and my former father-in-law, they're 86 and 97 now. They will, when I go home to Missouri and do a book event, those 2 people will be in the front row. They are so supportive of everything I do. They've been extraordinary grandparents. But when we split up years ago, my ex-wife's mother said, basically, there does not have to be a villain. Amelia, you were raised that when a divorce happens, there's a villain. Yeah. Somebody is good and someone is bad. There doesn't have to be a villain. And she removed that. She just took it and threw it away and said, if any 2 people can remain friends, it's Becky and Randy. And she just took all of this angst and these bad thoughts and completely dismissed them. So it's my ex-wife's mother who set the tone for the relationship that I still have with her. I'm grateful to her. We still check in with the kids. Are you all okay? And they're like, if we tell you we're screwed up, will you buy me a car? I mean, they do that. I mean, they really, they openly said it's not a big deal. My ex-wife and I and my husband took my young kids to see Parent Trap. Now that's just stupid. That's just stupid. We're sitting there, the 3 of us together with like a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I leaned over to her and I said, this is a really stupid film to choose to take your children to. To take them to Parent Trap in the movie theater. That's what we did. We did things, the 3 of us did things with the 2 kids. My ex-wife and I went to all of the back-to-school nights. We had a ball.
Oh, we did. Yeah, same thing too. We did all, because again, if you've got kids together, you get all those things, the spring and the summer and the fall, the musicals, the kid events, the parent-teacher night, the vacation. It's so much easier if you can transfer the relations into a supportive one. I want to welcome, Tina Lori, do I say that right? Lori, is that Harris? Has a question. I want to make sure we brought her into the conversation. I'm probably completely botching her name because I'm known for disasterizing people's names. Are you there?
Hi, I am here. I'm you'll hear a bit of a beep because I'm working out. Yes,
good.
I am Tina Lori Harris. You said it absolutely perfectly.
I'm known for not doing so well. I'm known for really just taking somebody's name and creating something entirely different from what it was actually spelled. So thank you that this one time I actually got it right.
Yeah, it's like teenager without the jur. Everyone gets it. The Lori with an IE. Everyone gets it. I have no problem explaining the long-winded vows of Tina Lori Harris. I wanted to just chime in about the forgiveness and the having the sort of difficult or discomfort of conversations, and what has served me. And this conversation's been so robust. I'm loving it. I'm working out really well, enjoying it. I had to just say something in terms of like forgiving the people who do the things that are unforgivable and that can be potentially irrevocable, right? Those things is to help heal you and not for them. And in the healing for you, then you get to have the next amazing relationship and get the things that you want. I do random acts of kindness every day. I call it rake. Every day I rake my garden. And random acts of kindness every day has helped me literally live in an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of hope, and not be in a position of feeling a little bit lost. Because in the moments that I'm taking care of someone else or being kind or compassionate or doing actionable empathy, I'm able to garner strength and to do the healing work. And I put in the chat about Daniel Pink's book. Love it. Read it 3 times already. He interviewed over 16,000 people on their regrets and talked to brain scientists and neurologists and all that. He made it very clear people who don't have regrets are either children, toddlers, have a brain injury or some sort of degenerative brain, like, possibly Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, or they're sociopaths. It's natural to regret. It's the ability to use the regret for not a win or a loss, a lesson. So I would love to hear your opinion about not winning and losing, but actually having lessons. And I, too, have been in situations, especially as a woman of color, having situations that are irrevocable and that are hateful and harnessed. And I will stand like Martin Luther King in love and in light. This is Tina Laurie, Good Joy Collector.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And so, I mean, again, for those who are following me, especially for years, I had one of those childhoods that you just need to sit down and, bring out the box of hankies, because a lot of things that seemed, just not repairable, right? Moving through that work helped me really be a better person of service. And because I'm a mixed family, and my family brought us to Stone Mountain, Georgia, that was fun. Also was at the hand of a lot of hate that we did not understand coming from Italy, what that was all about. And so what I can say about my own personal journey, and as far as regrets are concerned, the only regrets that I have is where I know I was giving pain, even though I didn't intend to, right? So the pain that I've caused in my life, that's where I have regret. I wish I was a better version of myself. I wish I knew better at that time. I absolutely wish I could have showed up in the person that I am today earlier in my life. So that is where I have regret. I do not regret the experience, even the experiences that are horrific. Now, I would not wish my experiences on anyone, not anyone. I don't want you to learn the way I learned, but I wouldn't change that, because the insight, the compassion, the understanding, and each of those journeys have somehow, some way impacted my business. The reason why I was so adamant about building a school on campus with one of my businesses, the reason why true mental health and wellness and recovery and is so important for me in the people operating system as we build businesses, is because I understand to such a personal degree how important mental health is for people to be able to grow. That space, that support system, right? How important those things are. That's why I'm so adamant about it, because I have firsthand knowledge. After 53,000 employees, I have seen the positive impact that happens on people when their employer leans in with them to develop them to their highest and best, right? By them, for them, not by me, for them. And so, yes, I think it's a very interesting conversation when you read about regret and how that helps you make decisions forward, and how you learn to apologize and accept responsibility, and how you practice having difficult conversation, and what acceptance and all of that richness is what creates our relationships to have the power and the depth We have so many superficial relationships, and then we wonder why we feel lonely. Well, you feel lonely because you don't have the depth in the relationship. I am so blessed that I have deep, 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 long-term relationships, but I have to remind people I work at it all the time, all the time. And the work isn't really me pointing out to other people. The work is what I can be doing differently, how I can be showing up. It always comes back to me. And as I grow as an individual, then the response from the world is what changes, right? But I'm not changing the world, I'm changing myself from within. So I think that's a really fun, juicy topic. I don't know if you got, Randy, if you or Tony have any comments on that as well. Regret. Oof, that's a big one.
I don't do it.
Well, what I
actually really don't think I do it. I don't. Everything is they're there for a purpose. Now, I completely agree with what you say, and Tammy will hear me out on this. Is I wish 30 years ago I knew what I knew now.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
You and
I wish I knew how to
three.
respond. I know now, and that kind of stuff. Just because I would have had better relationships then, I would have been taken advantage of less. I was not always nice. Tammy will tell you a story when I said something perfectly hateful to her when I was directing her in a production of a show, just because I was so full of myself. So I look back at that. I have to laugh at it, but at the same time, I'm embarrassed by it. But I don't think you can. Yeah, Tammy's amen. Yeah, I know she knows what I'm talking about.
That's part of growth.
Randy, is I ran through my life. I was so busy being busy that I ran through my life.
Yeah.
I was not present. And even if you try to get me to present, I really wasn't locked in. And so if I was going to look backwards, the abilities that I have now to really connect with somebody, I was lacking. I was busy. I was moving. I was fast. I was fast with my kids. I was always on to the next event. I was just go. There was more. I was never present. I was always in the future doing the next thing. And that pace, I didn't even recognize how fast it was when I was in it.
Well, that's the thing, Amelia. If you hadn't gone through that, you wouldn't have the depth of perception that you've got now, right? Regret teaches us, or the mistakes of our past teach us. I put in the chat before that there's no amount of regret that can change the past, and no amount of anxiety that can change the future, right? We're just here now, and the regret doesn't matter. You need to forgive and let go, forgive yourself, right? Because regret usually means that we're blaming ourselves for something. You need to forgive not just those who hurt us, not just those who are part of that mistake, but you need to forgive yourself so you can let that go and learn and grow from it. Going back to the whole, you got to grow through what you go through so you can stop going through it. Because if you don't grow through it, you keep going through, you keep punishing yourself for what happened in the past. So no amount of regret can change that. No amount of anxiety changes the future. It's what you do now with what you did. It's make amends, forgive, apologize, live in the now. Because, and then as far as the anxiety of tomorrow, well, there might not be any more time. Okay, well, live today and make decisions today that your future self will be grateful for. Make decisions today so that your tomorrow is different than your yesterday.
I have to. May I chime in? May an old Jersey lady, an 84-year-old lady chime in? I've been trying to find my spot here.
Well, try to keep it tight because we've only got 6 minutes left to the hour, Jimmy.
All right, I'll try to. But okay, I'm 84 and I have no regrets. I've lived a wild life, an interesting life, ups, downs, ins, outs, over mountains. I had 2 kids that worked with me. I told them I did what I did when I did it for the knowledge I had at the time. If I hurt you, if I did anything wrong, at that particular time, I had no other choice because I didn't know any better. I don't regret that because I didn't know it. If you don't know it, you can't do it. So I've gone through this life. We went through 26 years working together with my 2 daughters, my son-in-law, and other staff. And believe me, during that time, I kept it on the down low because I didn't want to have arguments with my family. But we had a way of resolving differences. I made up my mind beforehand. I'm always intentional. I'm still intentional. My daughter and I had a conversation the other day. My life was this. Their life was that. Their children's lives are very privileged. They're very smart. They're very well traveled. They've got all of that because of all the things I have. I could not be anybody else. I could only be me. So if I want to look back and regret, where would I regret? Where would I change? Would I change my husband? I traveled with him for 25 years in his 35-year government career. It was up and down, in and out for the kids. So anyhow, that being said, I have no regrets because I look at 4 amazing beings that are the result of the trauma and drama and everything. We have unconditional love for each other at the base of everything. So
and I think that's what's so beautiful, right? Is that you're at a place where you can look back with pure love.
Yes.
Yes. Eric in the back chat, Eric was saying, it's an intimacy deficiency. Eric, you're 100% accurate. In my younger years, I absolutely, part of what was going on for me was that I didn't want to slow down enough to connect that deeply, right? I was surviving through something that, but it is, your spidey senses to say that it was an intimate deficiency, sir, you are correct. That is what was going on for me.
Hang on,
and I also,
last sentence.
Go ahead.
Okay, my last sentence was that I wrote a book, and you're right. In looking back in the situation I am now, I look back at fights and confrontations. I look back at both sides now, because when you're in the middle of the soup, all you can do is fight your way out, and you can't determine what somebody else is doing. So now, writing a book made it clear. Thank you.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And again, hindsight is whatever. I also want to acknowledge Vanessa in the back. She's saying, what's wrong with that? I feel the same way. Living in the now, it fuels me, and I do my best to take breaks in between. Again, it's a matter of you determining if your pace is creating the desired outcome that you're actually looking for. In my case, I absolutely, that charge forward pace grew the companies over $100 million. I checked that off the list. However, I traded intimacy and presence for that. That doesn't mean you have to do that. I'm just telling you what I traded in order to do that. I'm not saying that it can't be done differently. That's what happened on my journey based on my choices. Now, if I look back, if I changed one thing, would something else would have changed? Probably would. I don't do that to myself. I think that's just slow torture. But what I'm saying for myself is that I made a decision that being present and slowing down to build those connections have more of a value driver to me today than it did 25 years ago. Not right or wrong or good or bad. It's the evolution of what I'm learning as I move along on my journey.
Well,
what I did to Derek last week, real quickly, I know we're about to end. I've got 2 things, Amelia, about last week. I apologized to Derek when he got home last Friday and said, I'm sorry if I've given you the leftovers.
Oh, and that's my favorite part. I love that, because that's what I say all the time. Don't give the leftovers to people.
I know that there are times we give each other the leftovers, but since we're close to the end, I need y'all. I do have to do a pitch. Ruby! My book comes out next Friday. The ebook for Ruby is $1. It's 99 cents. And if I can open strong, the pre-sales look great. So if you're interested in getting the book, if you Google Randall Kenneth Jones, Ruby on Amazon, it's only 99 cents to get my book. And I'm holding up a picture of the cover, and I would really appreciate this room's support for that. And
yes. Let's make it a bestseller the day that it opens up.
That would be
I'm
the
trying
goal.
to figure out how to put the link at the top. I'm trying to figure out how to put the link at the top.
Well, I think Dora Marie is in here, so maybe she can do it.
I'm searching for it.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So,
Dora Marie,
And we've got Dr. Shapiro here,
Ruby.
my man crush, Mr. Shapiro. I always, as I'm growing, I like to lean on him. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is on your time of there, Mr. Shapiro. How are you?
He can certainly give us all an adjustment. So before we go to him, I'm just gonna. We're at the top of the hour.
He gives me an attitude adjustment all the time.
Nice.
My attitude adjustment.
Nice. Well, listen, we're at the top of the hour. Before we pass it on, I just want to say thank you again for everyone for being here. Yes, happy birthday, Randy, 60 years old. And thank you again, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Amelia, for bringing the heat as always. I left my picture of me spitting fire today because that's what you do every time that you're here as well. And just remember, my friends, that you are a compilation of your life's experiences, the good, the bad, and especially the ugly. Fall in love with yourself again and respect yourself so you can move forward into your next level of your life, your next relationship, whatever it is. And don't hate anything that it took to create who it is that you are. So appreciate you, my friends. Thank you, Amelia. I'm gonna let you close out and pass it off to the social media crew. I don't know who's here from social media crew. I don't. Oh, there he is. Eric's down at the bottom. All right. With that said, thank you again. We look forward to seeing you again next Friday, 9 to 10 o'clock, and again at 11 to 12. And again, happy birthday to Randy, because he's holding the sign up saying I am Dirt. That's because he guesses he's older than Dirt. But listen, Dirt is a lot older than 60. You're looking great for 60. Happy birthday again. Thank you, Amelia. Appreciate you all.
Hello, Eric. Happy Friday. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Happy birthday, Randy. My goodness. 6-0. I'm sure you've said a lot about it.
I know how much fun, right? What are you guys up to for the social media show for this next hour?
We are going to talk